Hello, geeks and peeps. Welcome to Cynics on Cinema, a show where two 20-somethings reviews movies, shows, games, you name it. I'm here with my co-host and my brother, Addison Ellis. So anyway, this is our first showing and our first show.
It's a podcast.
It's a podcast, as it is. And so for our first show, we're going to be talking about a recent movie that came out maybe last year or halfway into this year.
It came in this year. Yeah,
this year.
Feels every month feels like a year ago. It was really upsetting. Anyway,
COVID, man. It's COVID. So we're going to be talking about The Green Knight, starring Dev Patel, Alicia Vikander, Joel Edgerton, and many others. So, what's the summary? What's the overall story about this?
Yeah, sure. Kind of a reckless, not quite a knight, but on the way to being one. Sir Gowan, as they pronounce it. I think it looks like Gowan, but they pronounce it Gowan. In pursuit of a sense of nobility and story and celebration and song and all that, he takes on a challenge by a mysterious green knight made out of the very woods and stuff that cover the land. And he takes on this challenge, a game, they call it, and accepting it, he sends himself on a journey that will take him across this fantasy British Isles where he will be challenged by people and kinds of weird, strange things that he'll carry with him for the rest of his life, culminating in an ending.
A very interesting ending at that. So let's go on the spoilers. So this is spoiler territory for anybody who wants to see it. Go for it. Or anyone wants to hear it to the end, stay. We'll love to have you. So the story adapts the Green Knight fable pretty faithfully, mostly in the setup of the main plot, but it's really near the halfway to last quarter of the story where the story's morals differ from that of the original story.
Because we should say that the game involved is he will hit the Green Knight in a certain way and then return a year later, the Green Knight will hit him back. And Gowan chooses to behead the Green Knight, and in doing so, he accepts his own death warrant, and that's what it's like, a very courageous act, and all that jazz, because he knows he's gonna have to go get his head chopped off, right? And he still did it.
Yeah.
And so the whole point of the journey, is to show his true colors, to show him to be the not a knight that he is.
Exactly.
If that makes sense. Yeah.
He goes on his journey, and first is attacked by a bunch of
brigands kind of guys. Next after that is a ghost lady who requests to have her head returned to her.
What she succeeds in.
Yes, he does. And he's actually does so relatively selflessly, not without first asking, hey, do I get anything? She's like, why would you ask that? And he does it anyway. So that was very kind of him. And then
he gets high on shrooms.
He's high on shrooms. He possibly actually sees, or just imagines because he's high on shrooms, a bunch of giants. Has a really weird encounter with a lord and lady out in the sticks. And again, it fails in terms of a challenge of lust and also self-preservation. There's a kind of
very much fails.
Yeah. And
Alicia Vikander plays a lady who seduces him into doing a sexual act in order to get his green sash back that his mother gave him.
And that's the other thing, too, is, again, there are a lot of things in the film that I do appreciate, and in that case, Vikander plays both his girlfriend prostitute and this lady. And, of course, what he do with the lady is he essentially prostitutes himself, and so it's like the roles get to be reversed in that, and it's like, again, it's like, oh, you're no better than a prostitute, essentially. You're working for your coin kind of thing.
And so the Lord kind of catches on maybe by the end of their kind of adventure. In the original story, the whole point is that the Lord and Gowan have a sort of game in which Gowan receives something one day, and then at the end of the day, he receives what he was given to the Lord. So
he gives it.
He gives it
back to the Lord, essentially.
I'm not an English major. So in the original story, Gowan kisses the lady, and then he returns said kiss to the Lord.
Technically, this happens too. It's not as heavily emphasized as in the story, but it does happen in this as well. But the whole point of that also is that he holds back on the fact that, in the original story, he's given a green sash. Different circumstances in the story than in the movie.
Less vulgar.
A little bit.
Less vulgar.
But he does get the sash, and he doesn't tell the Lord that he was given a sash. He doesn't give, the Lord the sash, and so he keeps it with him as protective. What would you call it? A protective. What do they call those things?
It's a close.
It's a warding against death.
Yeah,
that's all you need.
Protection spell.
Yeah.
But once Gowan gets to the Green Knight, he kneels in front of him, and as the Green Knight's gonna slash him in the neck, Gowan freaks out and runs away. And when he gets to the edge of the forest, he sees his horse magically back with him on the trail. And he goes back home. Seemingly everything goes fine. Nothing is wrong. But he has to live with that lie that he failed the quest.
Yeah, and not just in the movie doesn't end there. We see, again, King Arthur makes him a knight. And then King Arthur dies, and King Arthur has no heirs. So Gowan becomes the new king of... Actually,
Camelot?
Camelot, yeah.
They don't explicitly say.
They don't say, because they don't even say it's King Arthur.
Yeah.
He becomes king of Camelot, and during his reign, he essentially ruins the lives of everybody around him and everybody in his kingdom.
Yes.
And everything falls apart, and at the very end of this montage, we see him essentially commit suicide and remove the sash from around his belt that was keeping him alive, and his head rolls from his shoulders. And so we flash back to Gowan. He makes the choice then and there on his knees in front of the Green Knight. He's like, wait, takes off the sash and chooses to face his death. And
be a man.
Yeah. I love that though. I that moment's really powerful. That again, the Green Knight coming down is like, there, Sir Knight. And then he just recognizes the courage there. And then there's a nice ambiguity of the Green Knight drawing his finger across his throat, and he's like,
off with your head.
Off with your head. Yeah, so is it a pun, or is he actually going to cut his head off there?
Well, from the director, David Lowery, heavily insinuates that it is the latter.
He originally wanted it to be Dev Patel getting his head cut off at the end.
Yeah.
For sure. 100%, no question.
Which, again, at least for me, is the main issue of the story, because it goes against the full idea of the fable and the idea that Gowan is changed and survives to kind of constantly relive that.
Yeah, and I mean, he ends up fessing up to the whole court, if I remember, in the original one. Like, I didn't completely follow through with it, because in that one, he keeps the green sash on. The axe comes down, not really too hurt at all, and then he just goes about and he has to wear a scar on his neck and the sash around his waist for the rest of his life in shame. I'm kind of torn on it. I think at right now where it is, it's not too bad an ending. I get annoyed when I'm hear some of the Lowery.
David Lowery, yeah.
Sorry. Lowery's reasoning in terms of I wanted to make it so that Gowan's death would, be a good thing or be something that should happen kind of thing. It's frustrating because the person that wore that sash and lived that life and watched everybody die around him isn't the same person that then at the very end removes the sash and accepts the hit. So that seems kind of BSy. I'm glad they went with the ambiguous thing. I think that adds to it some.
Yeah.
It's ambiguous enough to where you can see either outcome occurring, but
yeah. Well, for me, I think I find it more powerful that he does remove it and then he gets sliced halfway into the neck or something like that, and then he tries to fight the knight. I think that actually would add more emphasis to that whole situation.
But that would be pulling away from his courage, man. That's the whole point. Is that I think when he cut off the Green Knight's head originally, it's like him making a deal to say, if I cut this guy's head off, there's no way he's coming back, right? That'll be the hit. But everybody else around him sees that as this thing of courage. Again, that he's choosing to have this Green Knight cut off his head, and he doesn't know if the knight can come back or not, but this idiot's gonna do it anyway.
Yeah, he wants to have all the the power.
He wants the glory in the stories, and he thinks, okay, cut off his head, it's done, it's good. But when he picks up his head, oh crap, I've accomplished this, and he's terrified of that. And at the end, that's him coming to acceptance of it, and that courage. And so if he fights back, wears green sash, then that might go against the character development. But then again, the frustrating thing is the only two really significant signs of character development might opinion anyway, is just at the beginning in those early sequences, and then at the end.
Yeah.
Everything in the middle, I don't tend to sense that character changing.
Apart from him getting the skull of the ghost lady.
He does do that selflessly.
But again, you don't really get too much of a result of that action. It doesn't really seem to affect him really.
Yeah, anymore. What does he do afterwards to, be indicative of having gone through that experience?
Yeah.
There's nothing.
It just feels like a random aside.
Yeah.
And that's where, for me, the film fails. It doesn't feel like a really well done journey.
Yeah, because it pulls away from the narrative thrust, of course, of him getting to the Green Knight, and I think that's the more interesting dynamic. But if, again, we had some indication of change along the way, even with these weird narrative subplots, digressions, but if that had any bearing on, again, a very noticeable change in him, then I think it would have overall been more powerful, more impactful by the end. But it makes it a frustrating watch because I think visually it's absolutely gorgeous. The acting is really strong, but just that middle section really drags for me.
Yeah.
And it's never in any way, it's a bland, it's just, it goes on for too long in ways that I don't feel compelled to care about anything.
It's a misfire that has a lot of passion thrown into it.
Yeah, clearly the director cares about the material, especially even if I don't agree with them or not. He's clearly thinking about yes, I want to do this and this and this, and make sure that he's doing justice to the story in different ways. How would you rate it, Britta?
I would probably, again, if out of 10, if 5 is an average film watching experience or average film, I would probably give it a 6. It's got some interesting elements that make it better than most modern-day fantasy films. However, it's very flawed.
Yeah, in the same rating, I think it'd be about a 6. I'm not in love with it, unfortunately.
Yeah. And now we're going to be going into the part of our podcast where we go into the questions from our audience or people who just want to write in. So
friends, family, people connected to us on social media, or Ian.
Well, we will wait. I didn't write any questions for ourselves. I'm not narcissistic.
No. I know. Narcissistic, you mean prepared.
Alrighty, for the first question. So in The Rise of Skywalker, they wipe out C-3PO's programming or memory chip. Either way, wouldn't that also wipe out his memory of languages, including his ability to translate the Sith language?
Maybe. That's a very specific one, Ian.
I think that's a very accurate question. It's a very good. It's a very stupid film, and I wouldn't doubt that they thought that far in about the reality.
They're wiping out everything except his language processors and his knowledge of the Sith.
So what comes to mind is his language processing a programmed part of his thing, or is that memory learned?
They're getting rid of the personality, Ian. Just cutting it all out. That's the big thing. Memories and personality. Just focus on the language.
Maybe just memories. Some memories have caused him to turn off those portions of his mind. I don't know. This is Rise of Skywalker. It's very stupid.
People are finding this fascinating.
Oh, I know. This is great content. This is 10 out of 10. Would do it again. Anyway, what? This is okay. Now this we can. I think we can joke. This is from our mom. She did a few because our mom loves us as little baby boys. Anyway, what would be your favorite classic movie before 1980 and why?
Before 1980. You mean in ancient time?
In ancient, before the Empire. Yes. And Casablanca's pretty great. You have Willy Wonka, which is really wonderful as well. The French Connection is a really fine. I think that's probably one of my favorite cop films of all time.
A lot of the musical ones, because again, like you say, Willy Wonka and even Singing in the Rain.
Yeah,
I've got a real soft spot for Singing in the Rain.
Yeah, I mean, like if you're talking about the, I guess this is more of a personal question, but like if you're talking more of an objective, like arguably one of the greatest films before the '80s, probably Wizard of Oz is like the height of like Hollywood.
Yeah, but literally you're getting into like the beginnings of cinema. I mean, you could do the typical go-tos like Citizen Kane #1, Casablanca #2.
So personals, I don't know. Probably Casablanca is one of my favorites.
Casablanca is really great.
The only romantic film I actually care to see.
Really?
I hate Most, unless it's like a romantic comedy like Harry Met Sally, which I still want to see in full.
I've not seen that.
I don't know.
Did Shaylee seen it?
I think so. I'm pretty sure. Shaylee's my girlfriend, by the way. Hi, honey. Especially modern day romantic comedies are so crap.
I don't know how you haven't been dragged to that yet or something.
Oh, I've seen the Twilight films. And
dragged yourself to it. I know the Twilight film. Yeah, Harry Met Sally, the Twilight films. You know,
they're all the same.
On
right?
par.
They're all the same. Anyway,
Love Actually.
Well, actually, I have to see that too. I don't know. I just feel like they're mostly the same type.
Romeo and Juliet, all romance.
Romeo plus Juliet. You want crazy editing and screaming and colors and.
I take that. I take a Baz Luhrmann adaptation, good or bad. It's probably going to be entertaining.
It gives me ADHD just thinking about it.
I'll take it.
Yeah.
I'll take the ADHD.
All right, next question for my mommy. If you could pick one movie that you would want to remake, what would it be and why?
Something bad. Something bad.
I would imagine so.
Or something, something... I was actually thinking about this the other day. Clive Barker stuff.
Oh, like Hellraiser again?
Yeah, Hellraiser. The sequence in Hellraiser still is amazing, and the formation of the soul
the rebirth
being brought to life.
Yeah.
That's still great. But the rest of the film and other Clive Barker adaptations, not so good. Like Sneaking Rawhide Rex, horrible. But to see a modern interpretation of that, like an A24, speaking of A24,
that'd be cool.
A good, well-made horror film with again quality effects and a decent budget. Someone that was respect the material.
Mm-hmm. Well, I know they're making a Hulu Books of Blood series, which is going to be adapting some of his works, and Hellraiser, cool. I think, is part of the Books of Blood, so I don't know if they're going to be doing a full thing for that, but that'll be really good.
Yeah.
Shoot, what would be a good film? I don't know.
The
Thing prequel? Maybe do a proper Thing prequel?
The Thing prequel. Yeah. Okay.
Or even like a sequel, maybe it'll be interesting, but
I don't need to see. I think a sequel would be interesting.
Yeah.
Or maybe not. I really don't. I like the mystery in the Thing. I don't want to know more.
Fair enough.
It's kind of the horror bit that makes it appealing. So the unknown.
Mm-hmm. Ooh, maybe remake like a Shadow over Innsmouth, a proper H.P. Lovecraft film.
Yeah, or like some of the Stephen King, maybe some of the made-for-TV movies. Like, there's a lot of good ideas in there. I just wish like Langoliers isn't horrible conceptually. It'd be interesting to see like a little short film about that or something that's like well made.
It's ridiculous. It's like your giant meatballs that eat things, Ed.
That's why you recreate them, and
you can't make it super serious. You can't make it super. Oh, these ancient meatball.
Or go full campy and embrace it. I don't know if it was entirely intentional in the original. That's campy.
Yeah, poor Bronson Pinchot. He screams his rear off.
Runs across.
What movie did you wish they did not remake, and why? Maybe RoboCop. Even though I don't really mind the remake too much, I think it does have some different things to say, but it's overall just kind of forgettable.
I have to think on that. I don't care for like the soft reboots, typically.
Horror remakes.
Yeah. Or actually, the Disney.
Oh yeah.
Freaking Disney remakes are like so doggone frustrating.
Yeah, but I had heard good things about, ironically, David Lowery's, was it the Dragon one?
Oh, yeah, Pete's Dragon.
Pete's Dragon.
Well, it's also starting from Pete's Dragon. The original, from what I remember, isn't that great.
It's
anyway,
not good at all.
So, I mean, nowhere to go but up. But, again, like, Cinderella.
Yeah.
Beauty and the Beast, man, that is soul-crushing. Like, they missed the point. Like, everything. Yeah. We gotta make it different.
Make it autotune galore.
But kind of the same. Yeah. Hire some people that can't sing very well.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of a good Disney remake that's come out. I mean, Jungle Book was decent. It's pretty much more of the same.
Actually, though I mentioned the Cinderella, I think the Cinderella got some positive reviews.
Oh, it did, yeah. Yeah.
Of course, that was like one of the early kind of starters of this whole period run with Disney remaking everything.
I mean, we could talk about origin films like Cruella.
Yeah, we could.
Well, yep. Anyway, next question.
Thank you.
But yeah, I'm sticking with the RoboCop. What comics are you into and why?
I'm admittedly not a big comic person.
Casual comic fan.
Yeah. Mostly go for graphic novels just because it's like self-contained, or if there are story-wide arcs, at least you get like 50, 60, 70 pages of some story going on, and then even though it's part of a main arc or something like that, larger arc.
What genres do you like to read primarily?
Some of the superhero stuff, I've always had a thing with Batman and Joker stuff. I love that dynamic and how it's explored by different artists and authors and stuff like that. Then off the cuff stuff, weird stuff like Hellboy and the Goon that are again a little bit just weird.
Yeah, weird and dark.
Weird and, dark, and usually you've got some kind of current of humor in there.
Nice. Yeah, I would say I'm pretty much the same. I'm more of an art guy first and then writing guy second when it comes to comics, although I do sometimes do the opposite, depending on how high the recommendation is. I collect some graphic novels as well, and then a lot of trade paperbacks, which is far easier to read than just single-issued stuff. I can't imagine reading a single issue of a comic once a month. That would be maddening and so money-wasting.
But, well, it could be money. Here's the thing. I will say, I have nothing against people that do buy the comics every month.
Yeah.
There's a charm to it, I can see.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, when it's like a serial thing. You just, pick it up, like, getting a newspaper or something, like, a monthly newspaper.
Oh, fair enough. Yeah. It's like a show, it's like a weekly show. You're just waiting for the next one. Fair enough.
Especially if you're a big fan.
Yeah. I don't know. For me, I'm too. I can't wait. I have to get the entire story. So maybe that's my problem. But yeah, no, I like a whole variety of stuff. Really dark stuff, dark comedy stuff. Recently I've been getting to a lot of Mike Mignola's kind of artistry and a lot of his books and different stuff that he's done for Marvel. Some Dark Horse stuff, but mostly just like random work for hire jobs that he's been doing. So I've been looking into a lot of that as of late, and I don't know. I've always had that darker sensibility, so I've always enjoyed that sort of dark humor or dark world a bit more than just normal generic happy stuff. So yeah, there we go. And I think that's about it for questions for this episode. Well, everybody, thank you for listening to our very first podcast episode. Hopefully you'll come back to see us next time on our next episode. If you'd like to support the show, please comment and subscribe to more content such as this. I hope you have a great day, everyone. Thank you so much for listening.